information at Biogen IDEC. She's a healthcare industry thought leader with more than 15 years of experience. Her position is a first for Biogen IDEC as she looks to build external partnerships and expand what Biogen IDEC has been doing in the innovation space. She has an amazing background and pedigree. Previously, she was the first Chief Innovation Officer at Boston Children's Hospital, where she built and led a team to promote technological and clinical process innovation. Prior to that, she was a Vice President of Innovation and Advanced Technology at Kaiser Permanente, where she led an effort to identify and assess new and emerging healthcare technologies. She's on the board of directors of the American Telemedicine Association, and she's received her degrees from MIT and from University of California, Berkeley. I've been fortunate to hear Naomi speak many times, and it's always amazing and insightful. Please, everyone, welcome Naomi Fried.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here in sunny, warm, tropical Chicago. At least coming from Boston, that's how it feels to me after Snowmageddon. So thank you, Chris and Kathy, for that wonderful introduction. So $4 billion was invested in new digital health solutions by venture capitalists in 2014 alone. That was a 125% increase over 2013, 4 times the amount that was invested in 2011. That's a lot of money. And digital health is not just getting a lot of money, but it's getting a lot of attention. Why? What's all the excitement about? What is digital health? Well, that's what I want to talk to you today about. I want to talk to you about 5 things. First of all, what digital health is, why digital health tools are needed in healthcare, the future of digital health, some of the barriers we're encountering to getting that future here today, and then finally, a little bit of advice for the innovators and entrepreneurs in the audience. So let's get started. So what do we mean when we talk about digital health? Well, in the good old days, which actually weren't so long ago, when we talked about digital health, we meant the electronic medical record, a digital mechanism where doctors could chart their patient interactions. Today, we've really moved much beyond just EMRs and clinical healthcare IT systems when we talk about digital health. Today, digital health means a lot more. It includes mobile apps. Patients are using mobile apps to track their conditions and their diseases. This is Biogen IDEC's mobile app, My Sidekick for MS, to help patients with multiple sclerosis track their movement, activity, energy, and mood. And clinicians are using mobile apps too to access information such as drug databases, and even the EMR is becoming available via mobile apps. Text messaging is another aspect of digital health. Clinicians are using texting to communicate. Doctors and nurses are texting with each other around the patient to talk about patient care. And clinicians are even starting to text patients. When I was at Boston Children's Hospital, we built a solution to allow us to send text messages to patients after they've been discharged from the hospital. And I think patients would like to text message their clinicians, but we're not quite there yet. So telehealth is an important aspect of digital health. And telehealth is the remote delivery of care, leveraging computers, cell phones, sometimes in combination with images and data to virtually connect doctors and patients. And video visits are one aspect within telehealth. These are virtual clinical visits. Patients are really excited about the possibility of doing video conferencing with their doctors instead of face-to-face visits. And video visits are getting attention from a lot of different organizations across the industry. There are large players like American Well that are trying to connect patients with doctors and clinical experts via video visits. Last year, Google offered free virtual video visits, and even providers are getting into the mix. When I was at Boston Children's Hospital, we set up a program, which we call the teleconcussion program, to allow us to provide virtual video visits to patients who've been diagnosed with concussion as a follow-up. And within telehealth, home health monitoring, also known as remote health delivery, is another exciting aspect of digital health. The way home health monitoring works is devices like the ones you see here are placed in the home. These devices collect biometric information from the patient, could be weight, blood pressure, sometimes also self-reported information like mood or how the conditions are of the patient. This information is sent asynchronously back to the clinicians who can monitor their patients over time. Home health monitoring is really catching on for chronic disease management. One example is congestive heart failure. In those programs, patients' weight is monitored every day, and that information is sent to the doctors. And this allows doctors to see when unwanted fluid is being retained by the patient and intervene early, usually staving off an attack and avoiding an unpleasant and expensive visit to the emergency department. And wearable devices that track our activity are also a growing part of the digital health landscape. So we've talked about what digital health is. Let's talk about why we need more digital health. So we really lead mobile lives today. We're all connected. We're using iPhones and iPads and cell phones to stay connected. And we've never seen such a phenomenal adoption curve for a technology as we've seen for mobile phones. Almost all of the population now is carrying a mobile device. And if I asked you who here has a mobile device within, say, 1 foot of where you're sitting, I think every hand in the room would go up. We are getting all sorts of services and information served up to us digitally today. We use our digital tools to check the weather, get directions, check our stocks, stay connected with friends, record our lives. We use digital solutions to help us when we are traveling, to shop, to bank. Now, think for a moment how much digital healthcare you're getting. How much of your healthcare is arriving digitally? If you're like most people, very little. And I think that needs to change. Digital solutions offer a wonderful toolbox to solve many of the challenges in healthcare today. So what are the benefits of digital solutions to healthcare? Well, first of all, it lets us say goodbye to paper. And getting rid of paper means, of course, saving space, and as my daughter likes to remind me, saving trees. Getting rid of paper and moving to digital information also means that information can be accessed remotely by many people. They don't have to be present where the paper is, where the information is. Digital solutions also offer mobility and portability. Doctors and nurses are busy and on the go, and it would be great for them to be able to have information as they move through their day. So digital solutions really helps untether doctors and nurses from their clinics and from their workstations. And patients are also becoming untethered through the availability of virtual care. And this means that patients can get care wherever they are, at work, at home, even at school. Another benefit of digital solutions to healthcare is that we really create better forms of communication. Leveraging digital solutions, we can now communicate in real time via virtual video visits or asynchronously through text messaging or email. Videos, images can be shared. I think that once we introduce digital solutions into our healthcare communication, we actually have a better, richer form of communication. And there's another benefit to getting rid of paper and moving to digital data. We create a new form of data data that can be accessed in ways that are not possible when data is locked inside of paper. Once we have digital data, we have the potential to mine it and to analyze it. And I think the future of healthcare will be all about data mining and data analysis to prevent and predict disease and to help us develop new therapies. So in terms of the benefits of going digital, well, portability of data, being able to access it anywhere, mobility for patients and for doctors, the potential for better communication, and going digital also means the creation of digital information streams that can provide valuable information to doctors, patients, and providers. Healthcare is really a data-intensive industry, and when we move to digital, we have the potential to actually decrease costs. So let's talk now about where the future of healthcare is going when we think about the potential to leverage digital solutions. I think in the future, we're going to see clinically important data coming from wearables. We're going to move beyond wearables that are just activity monitors or pedometers and have wearables that collect clinically important information that doctors need. Google's contact lens that proposes to collect blood glucose from diabetics is a great example. And beyond wearables, I think everyday items are going to help us stay healthy. We'll have smart, sensor-enabled clothing to help us stay healthy. Everyday objects like our utensils and glasses will have sensors to help monitor what we eat. Well, I might want to take the battery out of those from time to time. Even our cars will be sensor-enabled and part of the digital health revolution as they collect our blood pressure and our weight. And in the future, sensors will be embedded in our environment called invisibles. They too will help us track our health and well-being and stay healthy. So what's standing between us and all of these exciting possibilities for digital health solutions? Well, I think there's a number of barriers. HIPAA and privacy. So as you know, healthcare is a heavily regulated industry, and HIPAA and privacy rules are very important. And complying with these rules can often be daunting for someone thinking about developing a new digital solution. In addition, there's security and privacy concerns. It's imperative for any digital solution to carefully guard clinically collected data or patient data. It can't fall into the wrong hands. And another possible barrier to the development and deployment of more digital solutions are regulations. And while not yet heavily regulated, the FDA is exploring how to regulate digital solutions and mobile apps. Heavy-handed regulation could really hamper the industry. Hopefully, the FDA will strike a nice balance between safety and potential for innovation. And probably the hairiest barrier to more digital solutions is complexity and lack of interoperability. Our existing digital IT systems are very complex, they're opaque and hard to access. And so when people think about building new digital solutions that need to pull information or connect with them, the complexity is really a problem. And healthcare lacks really strong data standards. And so that means that we're also having difficulty with interoperability. So I think there's a lot of potential for healthcare digital solutions in the future. And I'd like to give a little bit of advice for the entrepreneurs and innovators in the room. So I get a kick out of this cartoon. It says, this really is an innovative approach, but I'm afraid we can't consider it. It's never been done before. Well, I think you know that innovation is fundamentally about trying things that haven't been done before. And so I'd like to share a few tips about how to succeed when innovating in the digital health space. So my first piece of advice is to start with real healthcare problems. Don't start with a solution, don't start with a technology. Don't say, hey, here's my digital phone. What problem can I solve in healthcare? Start with the real problems that we're already wrestling with. And there are a lot of problems already facing doctors, patients, and payers today. To give you an example, patient convenience. So who here has, show of hands, had a recent healthcare experience or been with someone who's had a healthcare experience that could have been quicker or easier or more pleasant? Hands up. Yeah, just about everyone. Healthcare really needs to start thinking about the patient as a consumer, and we need to deliver care in a way that delights our customer. So patient convenience is a big opportunity for healthcare innovation. So we've talked about the fact that healthcare is a really information-intensive industry. So there's a lot of potential to help with access to information. Doctors are trying hard to keep up with all the new information that's coming out in terms of medical research. And it would be great if doctors could access information and share information more easily. There's a real potential to improve care coordination in healthcare delivery today. And better care coordination certainly could lead to better outcomes and lower costs. Another real opportunity, clinical efficiency. Probably doctors' most valuable asset is their time. So any solution that can help save doctors' time is going to be a big winner and going to be easily monetized. Improvements to safety and quality, solutions that lead to better outcomes are going to be very successful. Now, these are often more disruptive and harder to come by, but can be so important to the industry. And then finally, probably the opportunity that's on everybody's mind, how can we reduce costs in healthcare? So solutions that lead to the more inexpensive delivery of healthcare are definitely going to be winners. And obviously, if you can hit more than one or two of these problems, you are going to have a big success on your hands. So the first piece of advice was solve real problems. The second piece of advice I have for innovators is to build a team to help work on your solution. Don't innovate in isolation. Don't try to work alone. Pull together a team of people. Really, diversity of ideas, diversity of opinions actually strengthen your innovation. My next piece of advice is to focus on human-centered design. And when I talk about human-centered design, I'm not just talking about the graphical user interface or what icon you put on a button. I'm really talking about usability. So if you're creating a digital solution for clinicians, think about clinical workflow and how this tool is going to work for them. And if you're building a solution for the patient or the consumer, make it user-friendly, make it easy to use, even fun. Try to delight the patient with your solution. My next piece of advice involves introducing you to the MVP, and I don't mean the most valuable player, I mean the minimum viable product. When you're innovating, you want to start out by building the minimum viable product, the most basic solution that you can that will help you test out your hypothesis. Don't start with a solution that has every bell and whistle, but build something simple, quick, prototype rapidly so you can get to your learnings quickly. This is a screenshot from the Stay Calm mobile app that was built recently at Biogen IDEX Hack MS Hackathon. And for those of you who don't know what a hackathon is, it doesn't involve breaking into anything or taking data. It's actually a weekend-long event where people come together in small teams to rapidly prototype, to hack out solutions, and then they compete for the best ideas. So the theme of our last hackathon was reducing stress in MS patients. And a small team came up with this very simple solution. They chose a couple functionalities that they wanted to test. They had a lot of ideas, but they didn't put them all into their first prototype. So they have a simple solution that they can go out and see if it actually has the impact that they're hoping for. So my next piece of advice is around failure. So Failure is inevitable, almost inevitable when you're innovating. Very rarely do you get it exactly right the first time. Failure is part of the innovation process, and that's okay. If you recognize that really failure is a learning opportunity. Failure is the first attempt in learning. And if you consider your failures as learnings and keep going, you will be a successful entrepreneur. Finally, my last piece of advice, well, innovation can be hard, it can be frustrating, so it's important to have fun. Innovation can be a wonderful activity, so keep your sense of humor, stay with it, have fun, maybe even do a dance while you're innovating. So in conclusion, digital health and innovation are two of the hottest topics in healthcare today. And we've talked about what digital health is, how we've transferred from really just the electronic medical record to, let's go back. You just put my slide back up. Not that one, next one. So we've talked about how digital health has really moved beyond the electronic medical record to include all sorts of technology that we're using today. We've talked about the future of digital health and where it might go, as well as some of the barriers that are holding us back. And I've talked a little bit about what entrepreneurs and innovators can do to build successful innovations, to really focus on the problems that are out there in healthcare today, to keep user-centered design in mind, as well as having fun. So you guys have been a great audience. You can reach me via email or Twitter, where I tweet frequently. And I think there's a little bit of time now, so I'm happy to open it up to questions. Thank you.
So I have a quick question. My name is Vinny Thangar, and I'm with Sage Growth Partners. So you've been head of innovation at a provider, at a payer, and now at a corporation. Could you talk about some of the common themes and challenges that each of the organizations that you've worked for have had towards whether investing in innovation or culturally changing the environment to embrace innovation? And since you've left Boston, and since you've left Kaiser, have they fulfilled and have taken on the mission at the C-level towards really investing and really gearing the organization towards innovation?
Great. Well, a number of very interesting questions there. So let me tell you a little bit about my charge at each of the organizations. So at Kaiser Permanente, where I was the Vice President of Innovation and Advanced Technology, we were really focused on evaluating emerging technology and bringing those into the company and testing them out, and where appropriate, then deploying them. And it's been quite a few years since I've been at Kaiser, but the program we set up there to evaluate technology has continued to grow and is quite robust. The other thing that we did there was to try to build a community of innovators and to create a platform for communication. And we embraced social media very early on within the organization as a way to communicate, and that continues to this day. At Boston Children's Hospital, my focus was really on creating a culture of innovation. That was really the mission. And to do that, we focused both on grassroots innovation, on strategic innovation at the institutional level, and identifying unmet innovation opportunities. And so we did a number of things to really support the culture, and I think these are important for any organization. We, first of all, tried to build a community because there were people who had been innovators and were looking for resources, looking for support. So we provided resources through our grant program, through a software development program, but we also built a community that allowed innovators to come together and share what they were doing. We had an innovators forum, and we also provided support and advice to innovators that just came and talked to our team. The other aspect that's important in building an innovation culture, besides resources, is also trying to create an environment where risk is acceptable, where failure is not punished and is recognized as a learning experience. So we were very focused on having innovators share their successes as well as their failures. And I think we were successful in helping people get more comfortable with taking risks. And I'd say one other aspect that's very important in an innovation culture, besides resources and creating a risk-free, risk-comfort environment, is recognition for the innovators. Innovation, as I mentioned, can be hard, it can be frustrating. So it's important to take time to celebrate your innovators. And so at Boston Children's Hospital, we had Innovation Day, where we showcased and allowed our innovators to present to the entire community. It was hosted by our president, our CEO, and it's really a chance for our innovators to shine and show what they were doing. We also held an innovator showcase, more of a science fair style interaction with our community where people came through and talked to them. So I think recognition of innovators is also very important. And I would advise any organization that's thinking about how to create a culture of innovation to put resources forward, to try to create a risk-friendly environment, but also to really recognize and appreciate the innovators, because there are always people who could be innovators if you create the right environment. Question here? Oh, sorry, microphone over here, okay.
Naomi, excellent summary of digital health. I've got two questions. One about something you did say and one about something you didn't say. You said that listing all the benefits, you summarized it all as being reducing costs, but you didn't really make the case for that. Let's take telehealth, for example. It's very hard for me to see how that isn't just another, good as it is, and I'm not denying that, but it's very hard to see how that reduces cost. It allows you to reach out to patients who can't come in and so on, but it's hard to see how that's reducing costs compared, let's say, to the use of algorithmic medicine remotely. What you didn't say is in your list of barriers, I'm surprised that you did not mention the quality of data. Now that we are getting more and more interoperability, more and more electronic data, one of the first things that's, as I understand it, is being found is that the data we're now getting access to is surprisingly low quality, very unreliable. I wonder if you could comment about that, please.
Okay, so hopefully I can remember both questions. So first of all, the quality of the data. I think that that's all relative. If you compare the quality of data that we have once we have digital data versus the quality of data we had when all of our data was locked up in paper, and if you wanted to look at the impact of something across the population, you had to go through many charts. I think we have definitely made progress. So I think there's an improvement in quality relative to paper. I think, to your point, is there an opportunity for data quality to get better? Absolutely. We are at the very beginning of our hopefully revolution in how we use digital data, what we can do with it. We're just starting to learn how to mine it. We have a long way to go in terms of building algorithms and predictive tools. So I think it's a huge opportunity. I think we're in the very early stages. To your other question about telehealth, so I think there are many use cases and many examples of how telehealth can actually save costs. And let me give you a couple examples. So back to the example that I gave with congestive heart failure. When we use remote patient monitoring and we have the opportunity to intervene in a patient's chronic condition and prevent adverse experience that involves a trip to the emergency department, we are dramatically saving costs of caring for that patient. Emergency visits are expensive if we can avoid a hospitalization. So in chronic condition management programs where we basically intervene early and maintain better health, we are saving costs. Other places where telehealth can lead to cost savings include reduction in capital. If we can start delivering care to patients at home, we can have smaller offices, smaller waiting rooms, the overhead, the cost of delivering care is actually less when you don't have the full office overhead and the location of care is actually at home. And I also think about opportunities for cost savings for programs like the teledermatology program that we piloted at Boston Children's Hospital. With our teledermatology program, we allowed primary care doctors who had patients come in with some sort of skin condition they couldn't diagnose to take a picture and send that picture along with the electronic medical record to one of our dermatologists at Boston Children's Hospital. The dermatologist within 24 to 48 hours looked at the picture, got back to the primary care doctor with advice and a recommendation on how to take care of that patient. That was then communicated to the patient, and the patient got information more quickly. They also obviated the need for a visit to a dermatologist, so took that expense out of the system altogether. You can imagine reimbursing a dermatologist for the visit, but potentially at a lower rate, but clearly a tremendous time savings there. And I'll mention one other program that we did that had potential to save costs in the telehealth area at Boston Children's Hospital. We built a program to connect the emergency departments in community hospitals with Boston Children's Hospital and our specialists in the ICU, so that when a patient came into the community hospital, a child who was critically ill, those doctors had the potential to access via video conferencing the doctors at Boston Children's Hospital. The doctors at Boston Children's Hospitals could visualize the patient, they could see the electronic medical record, they could see the biometric information about how the child was doing, and they could advise and provide support to the doctors in the community hospital. What that meant is sometimes they could provide advice so the child could stay in the community hospital. That in and of itself is a savings because it's less expensive to take care of a child in a community hospital than in a tertiary center. Sometimes the child did need to come to Boston Children's Hospital, but what we could advise on was the mode of transportation, whether that child needs to come by regular ambulance, specialty ambulance, or the most expensive modality, which is helicopter. And again, being able to choose the appropriate mode of transportation could potentially lead to a cost savings. So just to summarize, I think telehealth has potential along many different dimensions to save costs. There are certainly times when it will just be a substitute for an in-person visit. There may not be cost reductions, but I fundamentally believe that telehealth is a disruption in how care is being delivered and does have the potential to save money. All right, so who has, I see hands, but I don't know who has a mic. So if you have a microphone, please stand up.
Thank you. Teresa Carvajal, BioCorp. I have a question for you. I mean, you mentioned patient convenience and make their life easier. And that's why the world of devices and electronics, etc., comes not only to the patient, as you show the case, and then forward. But what about in terms of ease of taking medications, the right medication, and it's like having contact lenses or lenses with 2 or 3 prescriptions for the whole population, because right now we live in the era of one size fits all. So we, as you mentioned, we are now patient-centered, patient convenience, patient adherence, etc. So who will care about that type of activities? Because I know where you're coming from. You are in the electronic devices, and as you mentioned, a car, a patient with the device to make their life easier. But who will be, or do you have any idea who will be addressing those issues in terms of way of manufacturing drugs and more dedicated to the patient? I don't know if we can get to the personalized medicine in terms of genomics, because it will need a lot of information from the patient, so that will be a little bit cost not efficient. But in terms of getting closer to the right dose, so who will handle that? And that type of way of making drugs is for all elder patients that cannot swallow. Some have diseases that they cannot swallow, so elderly have problems with swallowing. Children, little ones cannot swallow, taste masking, all those kind of issues, and most importantly, the right dose. Do you have any comments? Who will be the community on that support that? Because pharmaceutical industry right now in my opinion, we'll have a little problem to change the whole way of manufacturing drugs. But I think we need to change because that technology is 120 years old. Thank you.
Sure. So I think there's a lot of opportunity around patient convenience for medication. Certainly, things that help patients stay compliant with their medication is very important. It improves outcomes. It's more convenient for them. So we're seeing a lot of smart caps and other things that help patients remember when to take medications. I think looking into the future, we have a lot of interest in better ways to deliver medications that are less painful, that are more convenient. Certainly, pharmaceutical companies, including Biogen IDEC, is looking at new ways to deliver medication. Some of our medications used to be injectable, and patients had difficulty with that. They had sometimes reactions. We have now looking at formulating things into pills. I think the future, we're going to have smart pills. We're going to have robotic pills. I think, you know, it's a very exciting future for medication administration, and that it's a great area for innovators, and patients will want the better, more convenient ways of taking their medication, and will want more reminders and support for that process.
Tim Hannon, I'm a physician and CEO of Healthcare Forward. One thing I'd just add to your telemedicine kind of rebuttal about where the costs associated with it. You've listed all the potential cost savings to the current incumbents in healthcare, which are physicians and health systems. You didn't add the potential benefits to employers and patients. So what we've taken for granted as physicians and health systems is people are willing to wait for appointments, take time off work, drive to the doctor's office, sit in the doctor's office, and I always take the first office appointment of the day. There's a lot of costs associated with that. And again, we need to stop thinking about the costs to the healthcare system as the incumbents, start thinking about the cost to consumers. With the democratization of medicine, with the patients paying more and more of their own care, whether we like it or not, consumers view healthcare quality as equivalent across providers and even provider types. So they're going to vote for convenience and they're going to vote for costs.
Great point. Thank you so much. There really is a potential for telehealth to solve some of those patient convenience issues. I use the example of the teledermatology. In addition to saving costs, it's wonderful for the patient not to have to drive, sit, wait, and then have that clinical visit with the dermatologist when they can actually get the information in another way. We're really seeing patients begin to become empowered like consumers, and to actually think about the value of their time, and to seek out solutions that are more convenient for them. And certainly employers are excited about telehealth that could potentially bring clinical information, clinical care to their patients at work, so they don't have to take off time to, again, go to a doctor and wait. Solutions that allow them to spend more time at work, solutions that are less frustrating. So I think patient convenience is a huge piece and a wonderful opportunity for cost savings. And also back to the example I gave around the ability to support emergency department doctors taking care of critically ill patients in the community hospital. If you can keep a child local in their community hospital, that often means they can get more support from their family rather than having to drive, you know, sometimes many, many miles to the tertiary center. So there's a lot of ways that patients really can benefit from telehealth solutions. We think about post-surgical follow-up as another tremendous patient convenience opportunity. We ran a pilot where we sent robots home with patients who'd had surgery and allowed them to have a video visit with a mobile robot in their home. And this meant that, you know, parents with kids who were recovering from surgery did not have to bundle up those kids, put them in the car, drive back to the hospital. They could have this video visit with the doctor or the nurse from the comfort of their home, in the convenience of their home. So a tremendous benefit to them. Other questions? Yes.
Hi, I'm curious about Biogenetics' use of the Fitbit with some of the MS patients, and I wonder if you can tell us a little bit, with all the excitement about Research Kit yesterday, a bit more about the clinical research applications of the technologies that you've talked about.
Sure. So Biogen has a pilot program where we have given Fitbits to patients with multiple sclerosis to help them track both their activity and their sleep. And we're hearing very positive results back from the patients in terms of whether they like using the Fitbit and whether they are they feel it's beneficial. So we're very excited about that. We are looking at other programs to try to help the physician in the office interact with the patient. We know that those office visits are often very short, and particularly for patients with multiple sclerosis, which is a very complicated disease, it's hard for clinicians to collect all of the information during that face-to-face office visit. So we are building a pilot program to try to allow the patient to answer questions digitally using a mobile app before he or she sees a doctor, to do some testing outside and make that information available to the clinician through a dashboard so the doctor can quickly sort of focus on what questions the patient has and what areas are challenging. I really think that there's potential, the future is very bright for innovative opportunities to support our patients and to support clinicians who are caring for our patients. And I think this will be sort of the next digital health revolution within pharma. We'll be trying to figure out how we go beyond the molecule and offer other tools, other types of value to our patients. And I'll take one more question over here. There's a mic coming.
Back to telehealth for a minute. I'm curious what your thoughts are on the TCPA laws and if they're going to modify those to extend the healthcare carve-out to cell phones.
To what?
Cell phones.
Cell phones. Well, I think that there is a lot of need for regulatory changes. I would say that regulation is probably one of the biggest barriers today in telehealth. That and reimbursement, but even reimbursement we're starting to address better. And there are all sorts of issues associated with telehealth regulation. There are licensure requirements that require doctors to be in the same state with the patient they're caring for, and that's really a problem if you think about kids coming to a hospital, getting very advanced surgery, and then having to stay in that state and not be able to go home if the doctor wanted to provide telehealth support for them. We also have challenges in various states around licensure and having hospitals cooperate when there's remote care being delivered between hospitals. So I will say the American Telemedicine Association is very actively looking at how we can lobby and work to bring down these barriers. Some of them are state-to-state level, but I think there really is an opportunity at the federal level to recognize that telehealth is really the future of healthcare and that we need to enable it. We need to allow for phones and other devices to be used in the process of care delivery. Thank you very much.